Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will now call the Burnsville City Council work session to order. And our work sessions are very informal, and we go directly to the items. But one of the things that I need to also do very quickly is for the city clerk to please note that council members Keeley and Workman are absent this evening. And tonight's meeting is being conducted both in person and online. Members of the public may attend in person if they so wish, or the public can also watch this meeting online at burnsvillemn.gov/meetings or on Comcast Channel 16 or 859. The public can also join us on Zoom by joining us at zoom.us/join. More information is available on our meeting webpage and in a council agenda packet. So the first item that's on our agenda this evening is the Health Club Ordinance Amendment Sketch Plan Review. And our Deputy City Manager and Community Development Director, Jeff Thompson, is presenting. Deputy City Manager, Jeff Thompson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So we've received an application from Andy Stallman, who's here tonight, for a fairly minor amendment to our zoning ordinance. And just to talk a little bit about the background on this. So Mr. Stallman actually has a purchase agreement on a property in the Ridge Run office condos located at South Cross and 35. The property is zoned B1, which is the office business district, and has a prospective tenant lined up for that tenant space, which is primarily a massage use. And so that use is permitted. The massage therapy business is permitted use within the B1 zoning district. The challenge or the issue that we've had is that the business includes a smaller component, but it includes a sauna, and that use is considered in our zoning ordinance as a health club and therefore requires a conditional use permit. So Mr. Stallman actually applied for the conditional use permit. We initiated that process. We were challenged by an existing provision in our subdivision regulations that required platting of the property. And we certainly have a plan to address that longer term, but given that there's a purchase agreement on the property and a prospective tenant, we worked to try to find a quicker solution to the challenge being faced to move the project forward so that the property could close and that the tenant could occupy the space. So what's being proposed is, as I said, a very simple change. It just changes health clubs from a conditional use to a permitted use within the B1 zoning district. The effective change of that is how our ordinance is structured. That would then also allow health clubs as a permitted use within the B2 and B3 districts, and that would then be consistent with all of our business, retail, service, commercial zoning districts, because it is already allowed as a permitted use within B4, the mixed district, and the TOD. So it provides ordinance consistency on how we treat health clubs across all those commercial zoning districts. So that's the application. Tonight is just the sketch plan review, so just the feedback and direction from the council. The main consideration for the council is whether you're supportive of the ordinance change, and then based on the discussion tonight, then it would go through the formal process of going to the Planning Commission for a public hearing and back to you for the final adoption of that ordinance amendment moving forward. So with that, Mayor, I'm happy to answer questions. As I said, Mr. Stallman's here tonight if there are questions of him.
Any questions for?
No.
Okay. And I don't either, because when you go back and look at when the ordinance was put in place, it was such a long time ago. Trends have changed. Amenities within a particular service has also been improved. And I can see if you're going to go in and get a massage, maybe you need your muscles to be relaxed in a sauna before you get in and allow the massage therapist to get at it without really doing that deep massage with. So from my perspective, it makes sense. And there is no need to do anything else because there is no change to the footprint of the building. And I think it's consistent with what you are presenting with regard to B1, 2, and 3. And I'm just thinking also, if something comes up in the shopping center, the shopping center, it's a PUD, and so it would be allowed. But from my perspective, it just makes sense. And I believe that Councilmember Schultzen and Councilman
Yes,
Gustafson, so.
absolutely.
So the direction is to prepare amendment to the ordinance and bring it before us.
Thank you, Mayor. We will certainly work with the applicant on that ordinance amendment, and as I said, bring that back through the planning commission process, and should be
Yeah.
before the council here shortly.
Okay, so as long as it's within the scheduled period for Andy to get all of that done, as long as he knows that that's going to happen. Okay,
And Mayor will certainly work with him along the way.
okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Very good. The next item is also yours. Deputy City Manager, Community Development Director Jeff Thompson, and this is the sale and rental of city property policy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So earlier this year, we had identified in a work session with the council the need to review and amend our sale of city property policy. The discussion initially came up as part of the Costco sketch
Yeah.
plan review for the potential move of the gas station. And this was kind of the first step, is for the city to review the existing policy in place and look at potential changes to it. That being said, this is not related to the Costco land sale. This is, again, because it is an existing policy that was originally adopted by the council in 2007 and most recently amended in 2018. This applies to the sale of any city property. Brief background, the policy today, as it's written, actually applies to both personal property of the city and real estate owned by the city, and it applies to property that's owned both by the city and by the EDA, which is, there are some properties that are, real estate properties that are owned by the EDA. The challenge with the existing policy is it's a little bit more tactical than strategic, and it provides different options for how we can sell property. And so the goal moving forward is to provide really a standardized and consistent way that we will approach the sale of real estate. Right now, we're focused on the policy amendments on just the sale of properties for development and redevelopment purposes. I know we talked about in the past work session that we are separately doing an inventory of properties that are owned by the city and by the EDA, and certainly that may warrant other changes to the policy, but at least for now, the first round of changes, we just want to focus on the sale of property for development and redevelopment purposes, and both city and EDA properties. So what we're recommending, as I said, is a consistent process that we'll follow each time, and it's also intended to be kind of open and transparent to achieve kind of the public purpose for the sale of property. And so we're recommending kind of a three-step process for how we would sell property, and I'll talk a little about kind of each of those steps and how we would approach that in the policy amendments that are before you. So the first phase is to conduct a pre-sale due diligence of the property, and the staff would do this. So that could include things like doing an appraisal of the property, a survey of the property, and a title investigation. Sometimes we may want to do like an environmental assessment to determine if there's any potential issues with that. And from that, then, staff would prepare a draft kind of solicitation of offers, which we'll talk about, and then that would establish kind of the development sales and the sales and development objectives, and then ultimately we would bring that as the first step of the council or EDA's approval, is to authorize us to issue that solicitation. So that would be formally authorized by action by the council or EDA. The solicitation itself would be fairly standard in its form, but it would just include information on the site, the development priorities that the council has and adopted in it, any sort of uniqueness about the type of disposition for the property, the submission requirements, evaluation criteria, and a schedule. And the goal is that we are able to then receive consistent information from any of the offers we receive, so that we can kind of equitably compare them against the development and sales objectives that the council has adopted or as a part of the original authorization. In terms of process for this. The policy says that the solicitation would need to be open for a minimum of 30 days. That's a minimum, but at least 30 days. We would certainly need to do public postings of it, posting it on the city's website, and posting a sign on the property. We also intend certainly to develop kind of make sure it's getting out to the development community through listing on real estate websites, the CoStar program, and making sure that the broader development and community is aware of this sale and the solicitation that's being offered. The only other piece I would add is the policy does say that if we don't receive any offers within the initial solicitation period, we can then keep the solicitation open on an ongoing basis and then review offers as they're submitted. Once the solicitation is closed, staff would review them, and we would rank them based on the adopted evaluation criteria that the council has authorized and are included in the solicitation. And then we would bring those rankings to the council or EDA to review them, ultimately to select a preferred buyer, right, the selected buyer, and then approve a letter of intent with that buyer so that we have exclusive rights to negotiate with that buyer. So that's kind of the second council action that would be included in the process, is to select the buyer and approve the letter of intent. And then the third phase is to negotiate the actual purchase and development agreement. Staff would then enter into a direct negotiation with that selected buyer for the terms and conditions in the purchase agreement. It would be paired with the development agreement because we are talking about sale of property in this instance for development and redevelopment purposes, so it's all tied to the proposed development. And then there's two separate processes just based on statute requirements. So if it's owned by the city, the planning commission needs to hold a public hearing to determine that the sale is consistent with the comp plan.
Yeah.
But for EDA property, the EDA actually holds the public hearing on it, and then before they approve the purchase agreement. So there's a little distinction that the city attorney advises on how we treat the actual review of the purchase agreement.
Would that item go before the Economic Development Commission to be informed of it or not? I know it just goes to the EDA, but I was wondering on how they get informed, or do they get informed?
Mayor and council, as the policy is currently drafted, it doesn't include any review
Okay.
by the Economic Development Commission
Okay.
itself.
Okay,
And the planning commission review is only for properties
that's right.
that are city-owned. So it
That's
wouldn't
right.
go, an EDA property, for example,
Yeah.
wouldn't go to the planning commission.
So the EDA property just comes to the EDA?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. And so that is kind of the three-step process, and then obviously that would result in hopefully the approval of the purchase agreement, which would be the council's third action in this process, and then certainly the sale would move forward with the terms and conditions that have been outlined in that council or EDA approved agreement. So the primary consideration for the council is whether you're supportive of the proposed changes to the policy, which are redlined and included in your packet. In terms of next steps, based on council feedback and direction tonight, we'll bring back the actual adoption of the policy amendment at the July 16th regular meeting. We would then initiate the sale process for the former fire station, consistent with the new policy. And we will certainly review any other properties that are currently offered for sale to make sure that we've followed the new process that we're putting out there for these, for the disposition of property.
Okay. Any
So-
questions for Jeff?
I like what you're doing here. I like that we're gonna get a handle on our properties, our value of the properties, and I especially like getting to know if there's any issues with the properties, that we can at least disclose that to the buyers. It'll kind of speeds up the process quite a bit when you're purchasing buildings or land. So we're gonna be very open and transparent to whoever wants to buy from us, and I do like that a lot.
Kara?
Yeah, agreed. No, it's good to have a process, as long as it is not onerous, and this does not appear to be an onerous process.
Yeah. I think it's a very great process because it lets everybody know what our process is. They know there's a due diligence, there's a lot of things that we have to do up front, and then the solicitations, and then we have 30 days, and if not, we can move on if there's somebody who is interested in a property. If not, we can just have the sign up. And then when we get to the point where somebody decides that they want to purchase of property, and we have a process for a purchase agreement. So I think it's very transparent. Everybody knows what it is, and we can move forward. So, members of the council, if you don't have any concerns, we can direct staff to bring the proposed changes.
No, I like that, yes.
Yeah,
Please.
very well done. Thank you so much. Nicely done. Okay. There are no other items for the work session. We will be yeah, we're gonna go to, huh?
Roundtable.
I know. I'll get there, because we're just done with all of the items. But I just want everybody to know that we'll recess and come back for the budget. But we do have roundtable. Do you have any reports?
Next week is my Experience Burnsville meeting and my Metro Cities meeting, but that's next week. So
Okay.
the following month, I'll have a report on it.
Yeah.
So on Dakota Communications, we will be getting information. There's some updates that need to be happening that were not saved for and did not appear to be budgeted for. So we're going to have to play a little catch-up with that. So there will be a request to each of the cities on that. So they are calculating what that is right now. And some of it is unexpected. There were some unexpected things that needed to be updated, along with some cybersecurity things that need to be absolutely addressed. So it's not going to be significant, but there will be a ask coming up. So as soon as we have that information, which I'm sure they will be communicating to the managers first, we'll get that to council.
Good. We had our municipal legislative quarterly session, and Hugo and I attended it. Greg and our team were in Nebraska, and it's the close of the session, and we recognized legislators who were very helpful and understood our issues. And so we awarded them and recognized their work. And we met in Lakeville, and Lakeville has a new park. It's called Antlers Park. Have you been there?
I haven't been there yet, but I've
It's
seen pictures of
beautiful.
it, so
It's
it does look
Yeah.
beautiful.
$11 million.
Well, then she better be pretty.
Very pretty. They have some
conservative
really
council
nice
out there.
sculptures. So if you haven't been out there, you might want to go. It's right on Lake Marion, and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. So they're working on parks and all of that. But it was a good meeting. We went over the outcomes of the legislature, and we've all heard about all of that. But the thing that was of great significance, I think, for all of us and for our residents to know is that first housing didn't go through. So that's the most important thing, because people were very concerned about all of that when local control was going to be taken away, and also their voices at a planning commission hearing was going to be taken away. So that didn't go through. So, and I believe you attended Metro Cities end of the year.
End of the year.
Yeah, and also, the league also had their end of the year, so that was it. But otherwise, the last thing that I want to report is that the International Festival is moving right along, ready to create another great experience for our community, so that's all I have. And Greg, is there anything from staff? Oh, I just have to say, all of the, there was we get these written reports now. I really like them, so thank you, because it was finance report and one from communications. So they were all from your portfolio, so had all of that. And Carissa talked about all of the views on the website, Burnsville in brief, and all of that. So I was just wondering, do we have a way of saying this is what it was? If we were doing it on a quarterly basis, what it was then and what is it now? When you look at how many views on the website or impressions and all of that, so we can see progress and how it continues to improve, and how many. So that was my only question on any of that. I just want to see how many hits, because we have so many followers. I want to understand, do our followership increases in one medium or not? And then how many impressions are being, because in Instagram and Facebook, we have, over 2 million impressions. And I think that's the biggest, right?
Madam Mayor, that is certainly the biggest since I have been here. And I think a lot of that, we were counting from February to May. And I can guess that much of our social media spiked in February. So, yes, that is an incredible mark that I don't know that we'll hit every quarter. But absolutely, we can certainly mark quarter to quarter.
Yeah, because it really would give us some information, and that was the thing. And on the finance piece, I mean, you have a really great, we've never seen these things before, and I've seen it, I think you also, Alyssa, had another report before this. And so it's really nice to look at all of that. So thank you very much. I really like and enjoy all of that. Thank you. And you guys know I read it. Yeah, so that was my only comment, was to commend you. And thank you for having those reports as part of because it's more information, and it's, again, more transparency, and it's available to the public as well. So
Absolutely.
That's great.
Mayor, to your point, we'll add, as we continue to enhance written reports, we're just starting to roll them out this year, but as we continue to do that, we certainly can be more comparative in some of our quarterly reports, and I would say that's exactly our intention, is to make sure that both you and the community have access to more information. So we'll also be doing some work. I'll be communicating in my community newsletter, and I'm sure communications will help me as we kind of communicate that this information is available to folks and where to find it. So
Okay.
thanks for
Thank
the
you.
feedback.
Yeah. All right. There's no other items to come before the council for this work session, and we are adjourned by acclamation. And to our public, we will be reconvening 20 minutes.
6:30.
Huh?
6:30.
Yeah. Okay, so to go over the special work session on the budget. So we'll see you then. Thank you.